There's so many things that you put on the screen in this film and the other indie films that we all love. There's one scene that it really, for some reason, just resonates, I think, with fans so much. It's the swordsman scene. I've heard so many different versions of how that scene got into this movie. Could you clarify for us exactly how that happened?
Okay, well, the truth is that the morning we were supposed to shoot this 3-page-long sword versus whip fight between the swordsman and Indy. And Harrison came to me in the morning. He said, he always calls me pal. He said, "Listen, pal." He said, I went into like Senor Barfies and I had something that didn't agree with me last night, and you've got about an hour with me, and then I'm going back to the hotel because I'm really sick. So what do you want to do? And I think I said, well, we have 3 pages to shoot, but if you pull out your gun and kill the swordsman, you can go back to the hotel.
No, that's rubbish. That's not what happened. That's not what happened, pal.
Hey, pal, tell him what happened.
That's not right?
It's an approximation. No, what happened was that I was...
Ladies and gentlemen, Harrison Ford, by the way.
I had chosen to eat native food, unlike Stephen, who went to Tunisia with a steamer trunk full of SpaghettiOs. And I had suffered mightily for my for that, and I was no longer capable of staying out of my trailer for more than it took to expose a roll of film, which was 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And then I would have to flee back there for sanitary facilities. And it was really horrible. And we had rehearsed the night before what was to be a 3-day scene. And there was a certain logic to my plea the next morning. It was about a 45-minute to an hour drive from our hotel to the set, and during that period of time, it came to me that there might be a way out of this, and it came out of the logic, a kind of interest in the film. We had just shot a lengthy scene in which there was a duel between bad guys with swords and things, bad guys, and the whip. And we were about to shoot another scene that would take us at least 3 days to shoot. The sad thing is that the guy who was playing the black swordsman had won the part. Probably the greatest contest for the part, any part in the film, was over this, because both Stephen and George were convinced that you could throw a salami in the air and slice it into wafer-thin slices with a sword. But this guy had trained and trained and trained, and we had to tell him that he was going to die. But anyway, my logic was that we really didn't want to see another, and we were going to, big, long, extended scene. We wanted to get to Miriam, who was captured. So I said, "Hey, pal, why don't we just shoot this son of a bitch?" And Stephen said, he said, "I was just thinking of that." And that's all there is to it. But the poor guy, when it was the news was broken to him that he was not going to get a chance to show any of the skills that he'd spent the last 3 months acquiring with the sword.
Yeah, but he became the most famous swordsman ever to die by Indy's gun in the history of the series. So,
but the first time I shot him, it took about 3 weeks for him to die.
it was terrible.
Because he
was
didn't want to be
terrible.
robbed of the drama that was his due. So he did a very elaborate death scene. And
First he dropped the sword, then he stumbled backwards, then he came forward again, then he started to weave, then he went down on one knee, then the second knee, and then he stood there on his knees and then went face down. That was take one.
and then I said to Stephen, "Watch this," and Stephen said, "Speed," and before he had a chance to say action, I pulled the trigger, and he went. And fell down. And that's what's in the movie.
That's
exactly right. Yeah.